Thank you, Gina. I'll just do a quick, very brief introduction again to our presenters. Gina did such a great job. I'm Joe Perillo. I'm from Project Outcomes Webinar Subcommittee, and really excited to hear from our guests today from DeSales University. We have Lisa Dietz, Kathleen Zamitra, and Michelle Grasso-Rasic. Is that correct? And so they will be, as Gina had mentioned, they're going to be sharing their journey of how they've used Project Outcome in their information literacy program. And so to that end, I'll pass it over. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. Hi, everyone. My name is Lisa Dietz, and I'm the Instruction and Assessment Librarian here at DeSales Trexler's Library. As Joe mentioned, I'm here with my two colleagues today, Kathleen Zamitra, who's the Health Sciences and Nursing Librarian here, and librarian Michelle Morasic. So today we're going to be talking a little bit about how our library uses ACRL's Project Outcome as an assessment tool for our information literacy instruction. We're going to be discussing, how Project Outcome got started here, how we've expanded beyond the first year writing in the ongoing years, how we've benefited from the feedback we've collected from our assessment surveys, and then just our overall experience using Project Outcome in an academic library setting. So just to give you a little bit of demographic background on DeSales University, we are a private university located in Center Valley, Pennsylvania, which is in Lehigh County. We are a relatively small university. We currently have a student enrollment of around like 3,100 students. But this past semester, DeSales has actually welcomed our largest freshman class in history. So we're really excited about that. So about 2,000 of those students are considered traditional undergraduate students. We offer bachelor's, master's, and some doctoral degrees, and offer evening courses for older continuing education students as well. And then here at Trexler Library, we have 5 degreed librarians and the 3 of us, which participate in information literacy instruction.
Lisa, I just wanted to interrupt you real quick. I'm not seeing your slides.
They'll like pop up when they come on screen.
Okay.
Yeah. So just for our library's information literacy program, we do target English composition and rhetoric courses as part of our first year experience and introduction to library and information literacy. Prior to using Project Outcome Assessment, was really just completed by like individual preference of each librarian. So some would choose, to do personal web surveys as a means of assessment or in-class activities, but there really was no consistency across the board other than just like the number of sessions that we were providing each year. So just as a way to create the uniform form of assessment, Katie Mann-Willer, who was DeSales' previous instruction and assessment librarian, very spearheaded the whole project and introduced ACRL's Project Outcome tool to our library. And that was in the summer of 2019. And the goal of that was really to assess our first year English comp information literacy instruction and just like the program as a whole. So we really wanted to identify, any possible strengths or weaknesses in our instruction, and then just to create like an overall standardized way to analyze instruction going forward. And this is really where Project Outcome has come in handy for us. So DeSales officially implemented the survey starting in the fall of the 2019 to 2020 academic year. And we're actually now currently in our 3rd year using Project Outcome. So during our first year, our focus was mainly on just assessing our English course instruction sessions only. But in the ongoing years, we have expanded our assessment to include all information literacy instruction and all academic subject specialties. And Kathleen will be talking more about that later. So basically to set up the surveys, each librarian that's participating in instruction will create an individual instruction assessment survey for each English composition session that they would be teaching. We do use the already established project outcome immediate surveys, and it was decided amongst the team in that first year to not make any modifications to the survey, just to keep like a concise, clean comparison to national data that's provided by project outcome. So I will make this bigger, but for those of you who haven't seen a standardized instruction immediate survey, here's a sample of one. It consists of about 4 Likert scale questions that are on a scale of if you strongly agree or disagree, and they ask, if the students have agreed or disagree, if they learned something new that will help them succeed in their classes, if they feel confident about completing their assignment. I actually particularly personally really love number 2 because I often ask this question every time I'm with a student, especially like in my one-on-one research appointments, because it's such an important thing for them to feel confident and say that they're confident in their ability to do things that they learned. And I also think that it works really well for us in the way that we do set up information literacy sessions and instructions with our English professors, because we do usually schedule them, before some sort of big research assignment. So that way, we can really tailor the instruction plans like towards those assignments. And number 3 just asks, if they intend to apply what they learned. And 4 is just asking them if they're, more aware of library services and resources. And then the second part of the survey are the 2 open-ended questions that are just asking them, what do you like most about the session? And then again, how the library can help them succeed in their classes. So to conduct the instruction immediate surveys, we do this like right at the end of our instruction session. Librarians do this in several ways. Sometimes we'll share the unique hyperlink to the web survey right on our PowerPoint slides. Or if the session is in person, we'll give out paper copies and input them manually into project outcome. It really all depends on the individual preference. So using the web survey link has worked well because most of our library instruction classes do take place in our computer lab, and students can just, click directly on the link right from there to submit the survey. When classes are outside of the computer lab setting, it isn't always the case because sometimes they don't want to copy the whole URL, or if it's emailed to them or set in their Blackboard, they don't always click on it to submit it. So we find that the submission rate of that is, tends to decrease. And if any of you are teaching virtual again this semester, we found that, sending the web link in a Zoom chat always generates a pretty high response. So that's always good too. So really the idea behind us using the instruction immediate surveys and, how some of you in academic libraries, can utilize them too is, really understanding the impact of the instruction sessions, finding out, did the students learn something, they can use going forward to complete their assignments? Do they have an idea of, what library sources they're going to use to complete their assignment or even getting started? How confident do they feel in using those resources? Or on the flip side, was there something missing from our instruction? Is there a topic we didn't cover, that could have helped them be more successful? And just overall, what do they enjoy about it so that we can continue to do that in the future? I will share my screen here. But initially, when implementing Project Outcome in 2019, the team did want to make use of the instruction follow-up survey as well. So these surveys are designed to be sent out a few weeks after the instruction session, with the idea that like students would have completed their assignments and possibly received a grade, and they could give us, some insight in, what skills they may have used, what library resources they did to complete their assignment, were they successful, any examples of resources that they use. So you can see here it's 3 questions, yes or no. Asking them if, they used what they learned in their assignment. Do they think they did better in their class? Did they use other library resources or services? And if yes, what did they use? And then again, there's 2 open-ended questions, just asking them what they found most helpful, and again, what the library can do to help them more. And like the instruction immediate survey, we didn't make any and still don't make any modifications to this survey. So for our survey results from year 1 and even still currently, I would say that getting responses for the instruction follow-up survey has been our biggest struggle. The approach that we've took in the fall of 2019 and 2020, that first year, was to wait about, 2 or 3 weeks after the instruction session and send out that link to the follow-up survey to our English professors so that they could share it with their class and encourage them to fill it out and submit, whether that be through Blackboard or email. However, this approach didn't receive, the best response rate. And due to those responses, the following semester, the idea for spring was for librarians to possibly revisit some of the classes and, manually give out the surveys to get a better response. However, due to COVID, all classes turned virtual and this approach wasn't possible. We have since tried to implement revisiting again this past fall. However, we found that it's been, difficult in scheduling class time again with professors, post instruction session, but we are actively trying to find a better solution for this. So let me share this. So now for the fun part was, really building our reports and seeing our results. So for the first year, we ended up with a total of 497 survey responses to our instruction immediate surveys. And this is like such a great influx of feedback and insight, that we didn't have prior to using Project Outcome. So here on my screen is an example of our results from that first year. And for building this report, I just selected the dates from the start of our fall semester, beginning in August of 2019, and then ending in, spring semester 2020. And this just includes, all English courses taught by all 3 librarians. So here are some of the results where you can see, 92% agreed that, they learned something to help them be successful and they intend to apply what they've learned. 86 said they feel more confident and 90% are more aware of our library resources and services. And then the second part of the report here shows us that DeSales, closely aligns with the rates of, national data and other libraries similar to ours. And this is where you can really see your comparison. So that's always really nice as well. So for the open-ended question responses, I think for us librarians, we can collectively say that we probably most enjoy and get the most informative feedback from project outcome through the open-ended survey responses, because we find that students are often really honest and incredibly insightful with their suggestions and feedback. And what's really nice about the open-ended questions used in the survey is we don't only get feedback about our instruction, but we've also gotten feedback about, library services or library as a place, like in general. So it's been really helpful. I'll share here. So this is just an example of some of the quotes from the survey that I ran. But the open-ended questions, they can make for really great quotes when demonstrating the benefit and the impact that, our information instruction has for students, as well as, adjusting our services and lesson plans to meet the students' needs. Um, and really, when you get like 497 responses, it's really just a great pool of information to pull from. Here also, I like to run these reports as well. This is a sample, I can make it larger too, of the project outcome qualitative data report, using words from our open-ended questions. Um, and like I said, you don't just get feedback from our instruction. We received, feedback we weren't expecting. There was about 16 responses from that first year requesting like even more library information sessions, including, wanting sessions outside of English class or special workshops or, introducing it in freshman orientation. And so, from this information, we really know that the students have enjoyed their information literacy instruction and they find it helpful to their academic success. Another suggestion that we were given several times by students was that our library should advertise our library's services and resources more. And this was a really interesting bit of information because it's telling us that our current marketing efforts that we thought were effective, might not be reading or reaching the student body as much as we thought. And, knowing this information, it can really kick off a new library marketing strategy towards students. And even this past fall, we really increased our engagement and marketing through social media. That's been really successful. So even looking back at the first year data in 2022, we're able to take away useful information to improve our library services. Um, so going back to our follow-up surveys, at the end of 2020, we only ended up getting about 114 responses. Those were the ones that we sent out, weeks after. And that only made up about 23% of our overall sample. But, this is still a learning curve for us, and we're still trying new ways to get, higher response rates for that. Share my screen. So even with a small sample size of, the 114, we were still really able to get an idea about positive feedback for the students' academic success in completing their assignments and, helping them be successful in their classes. So with our response surveys, we found that 95% of them felt that they did do better in their class, and 96%, using what they learned in other classes. And about 42% agreed that they, applied awareness of, other library resources. And then also in comparison with the national data, we did see that, DeSales again closely aligned with that. And this is a great feature to have, especially when one of our responses, we received about the 42% in applying awareness in library resource category. So when comparing it to, the national library data provided by Project Outcome, we can see that The average for this was about 44%. So really helps put a lower percentage like that into perspective and make it a little less alarming for us. Um, I would say the biggest takeaway from our follow-up survey, open-ended, is, knowing that the students felt that, understanding the databases and the search strategies, which databases to use best for certain topics. And like that's what they believed had helped them in being successful in completing their assignments and in their courses. So, when we review those results as librarians, we can keep that in mind when we're planning and adjusting our lesson plans, and possibly even spend more time talking about database searching. What's really nice about having project outcome implemented as our standardized way of instruction and assessment is that with continued use, we're able to compare and contrast previous academic years to really determine like where we've been successful, what areas do we need to improve on, and then any trends in the data. So as I mentioned, Trexel Library continued to use Project Outcome in our 2020-2021 academic year, and then also this fall. And we've even expanded our usage beyond English composition and started to use it for all instruction subject specialties. So when building reports at the end of the semester, at the end of the year, we can still filter reports to only include our English core surveys. When we're analyzing our information literacy program that's directed towards, first year students. And then we can build, broader assessment reports for wider assessment when we're looking at, our information literacy as a whole. So we found it really accommodating to have that filtering feature. And then even if you personally want to build a report around, just your instruction as a librarian to see, how you compare, or if you have any improvements that your lessons may need, or, what you're doing well so you can continue to do it. So here's just an example of, comparative data from our first to second year. And we increased in all four assessment areas from the previous year. And then we also started scoring a little bit above average on the national data. Here's some of our data from this past fall semester. And I just included the English comp ones here. But when we were taking a look at this, we noticed that we had the best results since starting Project Outcome. So it's been really nice to reflect back on that this past semester and really be proud of our improvements there. So, other useful information in having these yearly project outcome reports is a way to, keep track of the sessions that we taught each semester, because we found that these numbers can fluctuate for various reasons. And this can help us, in our approach with reaching out to faculty members, certain department heads, and, see really where we've made those relationships and connections, and where do we might have to focus our efforts in developing those connections in the future. So to talk about project outcome beyond our first year experience and how we use it now is my colleague Kathleen Zamitra.
Hi, everyone. My name is Kathleen Sumitra. I'm the health sciences and nursing librarian. Before I get started, I did see a chat question about like the length of our classes. So it really all depends on the class and the level. So undergraduate classes, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday are a 50-minute session. On Tuesday and Thursday, they are 75 minutes. Graduate level classes can follow the same 50-minute or 75-minute class time. Most of them are going to be at least 3 hours at a time. So we do see a range in the different types of classes, especially at the different levels. For the first year writing classes, we are usually invited for the full either 50 minutes or 75 minutes, but it also depends on the instructor's preference. I do a lot of the graduate classes, so I'll be given like an hour and a half, 2 hours sometimes. So it all depends again on what the professor wants. So we're going to talk about assessment beyond our first year writing and look at the upper level course instruction. So by expanding our scope of assessment surveys to include all information literacy instruction beyond those FYW classes, we can determine that upperclassmen still need information literacy sessions, and they are really benefiting from them. Despite some lessons being repeated, students are still reporting that they are learning about new resources and skills that are helping them further succeed in their classes, or they are appreciating a refresher. This gives us a big push to advocate for more information literacy instruction beyond the first year experience and for lessons teaching student discipline specific research skills. Our librarians do have an incredible relationship with the faculty members that take advantage of the instruction sessions that we provide. One thing we are looking to do is expand those relationships by creating a liaison program. Our hope is that this program, along with the data that we collect from Project Outcome, will help other faculty members across the university understand the benefits of these instruction sessions. So just a look at our statistics for fall of 2021, Michelle and I taught 49 information literacy sessions, either in person or virtually. I say Michelle and I because Lisa only joined us back in October, so she missed the brunt of our information literacy sessions. An immediate instruction survey was administered in 41 out of those 49 classes. Of those 41 classes, 19 of them were upper level instruction or non-first year writing classes. 7 of those were at the graduate level. We do have several graduate programs, MBA, physician assistant, PT, a master's in criminal justice, and a doctorate in nursing practice. We received a total of 555 survey responses this fall, which is the most we've ever received in total, as well as the most we've ever received in one semester. 261 of those surveys were collected from our first year writing students, and the remaining 294 were from those upper level non-FYW classes. So just to give you an idea, as you can see, 95% of our students responded they agreed or strongly agreed with having learned something new, and 96% intended to apply what they learned and were more aware of services and resources provided by the library. These percentages were also higher than previous years. So my favorite part is always the student feedback. So we see a couple of different quotes here. A common theme we see in upper level classes, especially from our graduate level students, is wishing that they had this lesson earlier in their program. We also are seeing they love a PowerPoint presentation. So I know when I teach and I'm embedded in a Blackboard course here, I always make sure I upload my slide presentation in PDF format so that students have access to it to refresh if they're, going back and looking at the material later. The upper level students also appreciated detailed explanations, as you can see in that quote from our second year nursing student. being able to go into more detail at a higher level class gives these students the ability to grow in their research and information literacy skills. And then we see, I like how the librarian actually showed us and walked us through. And then we have from the DNP student, knowing that you will be there to assist me with my literature searches. So they are appreciating the resources and the services we provide. So if I'm teaching in person, I've found that students are more likely to complete a paper copy of the survey than if just a link is provided. Entering the paper responses into project outcome, well, it might seem like a chore to some people. I actually enjoy because I get to actually see the feedback from the students, see how they're answering the questions, what their open-ended responses are, and then really take that information and have that help me provide better instruction sessions or PowerPoints in the future. Just an example from this past fall, I noticed a lot of people were really confusing the services we provide versus the services that our Academic Success Center provide. So one of the things that I will be doing for the spring semester is including a slide in my PowerPoint presentation that explains the differences between the services that we here at Trexler Library provide and the services that the Academic Success Center provides. And then that way the student has the ability to see, oh, I need help writing my paper. I need to go to the writing center. I not go to the library. So now I'm going to pass it over to Michelle. She's my colleague here, and she's going to talk to you about her experiences using Project Outcome.
Thank you, Kathleen. I just want to say we've been using Project Outcome for the last 3 years, and I've been here those times to see the evolution. When we started using it, when we were introduced to it, I was one of the librarians who wasn't really on board. I like doing my own way, doing it the harder way of putting together the statistics after a class. And I didn't want to hear anything new, just another tool. But then I saw how easy it was to use. The statistics were instantaneous, and I find it was easy to use, and I really enjoyed using it as the years went on. You know, the hardest part for me is to remembering to do it, you know, because I get the class prepped and then I forget. I mean, I'd be in the class, it's like, oh no, I forgot the survey. So I try to prep now by putting it in the Blackboard class or just trying to have it in paper before I go into the classroom, or make sure I have the link handy. And one of the important things I found is it all depends upon your relationships with the faculty. Some like you to do it in paper because they'll do it. Some say, oh, just put it online and I'll give it to them later. But sometimes that doesn't work because then the faculty forget. So again, you have to foster the relationships, especially when you're doing the follow-up, because they get busy and towards the end of the semester, they forget and it gets lost. So again, you have to keep on reaching out. And I guess the most fascinating thing I like about Project Outcome is the comments. And I like to see that the students are actually enjoying what we teach them. I do an activity with M&Ms, and on the results, the comments, the students, oh, more M&Ms, more M&Ms. And I don't know if they like the activity as much as the candy, but again, it's showing me how much they are enjoying the activity. And other things I've done, databases, information tutorials with aliens, and they like it. So even though my approach might be a little quirky, it's giving me that satisfaction that they do appreciate it. And I'm looking forward to this semester and using it further in our classes. So I'm going to throw this back to Lisa back to Kathleen. Okay.
Okay, so overall, project outcome has really made a positive impact in our ability to get to know our student base, what their needs are, and especially when it comes to information literacy. But unexpected, we also noticed its needs, what they need for the library in general, whether it's more hours, more study rooms, more study space, more 3D anatomical models. So we really are taking the information that we are gaining from these surveys and really using it to help create a better learning environment for our students. And so project outcome has helped us in setting benchmarks for our instruction performance and in developing long-term goals when it comes to our information literacy program university-wide, and expanding our instruction services. Having years of positive survey results has given us solid evidence when advocating and demonstrating the value of the library and our instruction. So then that helps us in return gain support from the university in getting more faculty buy-in. We hope to expand our use of project outcome in other ways in the future. We started using surveys for our one-on-one research appointments as well, but that process we're still trying to fine tune. We've gotten not great response rates from that. We hope that this webinar has been helpful and that some of you can take some ideas and tips from our experience in implementing project outcome assessment tools at your library, as well as a big thank you to ACRL from our Trexler Library team for giving us the opportunity to speak about our experience. So I guess, do we have some time for questions? I've also have our contact information there, so you can contact Lisa, myself, or Michelle by email also if you have questions later on.
Yeah, Kathleen, you're doing great on time. I'm looking at it's 3:38, so you've got absolutely some spare time if you want to field some questions. And
oh yeah, so
yeah.
I saw some while Kathleen was talking. So just to go back to our first year English, so we do have a relationship with the first year writing coach, and they do sort of require that our first year English teachers do at least 1 or 2 library sessions. That doesn't mean that they all do, but we always make sure to reach out every semester and remind them. And our relationship with that head of the department is really great. So it keeps being more successful. And then there was another question that if we've used incentives for the follow-up survey, but I don't think we've tried that yet. But that's definitely something to think about. I saw another comment about QR codes, but we didn't think to do that either as well. But I didn't know if there was any other lingering questions. Oh, I think Kathleen mentioned it at the end. So we do one-on-one research sessions with our students here at the library. We started to our process with that is that we send out this automatic email that links to the survey to ask them about it. And then I believe, Kathleen, is it 2 or 3 weeks later that the automated message goes out again for those research appointments?
Yeah, it's a week or 2.
Yeah, so we've been trying to measure like, what they're taking away from those research appointments and what they're learning from there. But again, I think we're running into that whole like the email link thing, like out of sight, out of mind, and we're not really getting great responses, but we're still tweaking that process.
And then I think somebody had asked for a little bit more information about Michelle's M&M activity. So I'm going to let her speak to that.
Hi, I use the M&Ms for you teaching the connectors and, or, and not. And each student gets a cup full of M&Ms, and I say a color, and then I say another color, and the people who have the two different colors remain standing. And you keep on doing colors for and until maybe one or two students are standing. And then I do the opposite for or. And at the end of the activity, they get to eat the M&Ms. So it's really gets them exercise in there, some critical thinking. And it's always a good review for those who've used it in the past, who have learned it.
And I think Diane asked me if I use my infographics in Canva. I actually am using a program called Prezi Video. And I make, so it like kind of embeds into my video screen. And I'll type that into the chat so you have that.
And Lisa, this is Gina from ACRL. I just wanted to share that the graphics themselves are from the project outcome data dashboards.
Oh, yeah. So those came, I just
yeah, the green and purple those are the graphics that are included in project outcome.
Sorry, I misunderstood. Yeah, so I just snip tooled them from my screen. So those are directly of what a project outcome, like once you build your report, that's exactly what it looks like graphic wise from directly from project outcome. But that's how I shared it on my screen. And the same with the surveys that I shared as well. Those are directly from project outcome. And then
Lisa, it seems like there was, oh, sorry, I didn't want to interrupt.
Oh, go ahead.
Christy mentioned about the post-session surveys as opposed to the ones that you do immediately afterwards. Just asking, is there a reason to wait? But I think you do the two, right? One immediately after the session, and then one kind of a post-session to see if they've applied kind of what you taught them. Do you want to maybe just...
Sure. I can go back to I can share this again. So they're a little bit different questions. So right after the session that we teach, this is the survey that we give. So it's, really asking them if they learned something, if they feel confident, if they intend to apply it. And then the follow-up is really designed to do it about 2 to 3 weeks later, thinking that that they have already completed that assignment, that research assignment, and they probably have gotten a grade on it so they can determine if they were successful or not. So it's slightly different questions geared to, how did we do on our, instruction session, like right then and there, and like, were you successful because of it is really like the follow-up. I don't know if that answers that question. I don't know if there's any more questions here. Nance said you would still like to hear about Prezi Video. Do you have like a specific question?
So someone was saying about project outcomes seeming more like a customer satisfaction toolkit, but doesn't measure learning. So that's why we use the follow-up survey. So we have the immediate survey, and then we use the follow-up survey to gain information as to whether or not the student learned anything from the sessions that we provided. Lisa, do you have the follow-up survey on that you can pull up the questions again? And I don't know if Gina wants to jump in on this as well.
Oh, sure. So project outcome, we call it outcomes-based measurement. So we're primarily trying to get at the question, what good did we do? So those 4 Likert scale questions that are included on the standardized survey measure the 4 outcomes we're trying to achieve, which are knowledge, confidence, application, and behavior change. And I am forgetting the last one because it's Friday afternoon. But we always like to say at Project Outcome that our assessment tool is only one piece of the puzzle. So if you're looking for sort of more qualitative gate counts and things like that, Project Outcome is a good addition. And it's sort of more about self-reported learning, like what are the students taking away from your sessions, and not really a quantitative test kind of learning. And you can feel free, if you have questions, to email us at acrl@projectoutcome.org, which I'm typing into the chat right now.
Looks like you guys did a great job and you answered all the questions. Oh, wait, we got another one here.
This is Gina again. I saw that Rosemary asked a question. Can you add different questions, or are you limited to the ones that Project Outcome provides? We provide 7 standardized surveys, and for the immediate surveys, you have the option to add up to 3 custom questions to your survey. And those can be open-ended, multiple choice, whatever you need.
Super. Oh, trickling in here.
Yes, so Jennifer asks, you cannot remove questions then or mix and match the surveys? No, the surveys were developed by the Project Outcome Working Group, and they really put a lot of thought into what categories would be most helpful to librarians. And you cannot remove or mix and match the surveys, because then the reports and visualizations wouldn't work. So in order to get the nice reporting, you do have to use the standardized surveys.
And I like how Lisa demonstrated how, you can compare it's essentially standardized. You can compare them to, other institute, nationwide according to your Carnegie classification, which is awfully helpful. She did a nice job of pointing that out. Okay, it looks like they've trickled down to 0. So maybe I'll just kind of close up here by saying thank you so much to Lisa, Kathleen, and Michelle for sharing their journey with us. There's lots of change. I loved Michelle's comment about originally not being so receptive and then coming around. I think we all from various institutions can kind of sympathize. It's never a perfect rollout and we have fears or questions or, so it's nice when we can kind of be open with each other and just kind of share, what we really think and stuff. But I really thank you so much for all of
Thank
you
you.
sharing your experience at DeSales. I wanted to say that we will be having another webinar on project outcome and from other institutions, slightly larger institutions. We tried to get a mix. And so that'll be coming in at the end of April. So stay tuned. And today's recording will be sent to all registrants within a few days. And so thank you, everyone, for coming today, and hope you have a great start to the new year. Stay healthy. And on that note, have a great afternoon, everybody. And
Bye,
thanks
everyone.
again,
Thank you.
Lisa, Michelle.
Everyone,
and
thank you.
Yeah. Thank you for having us.